Hi everyone, today I'm going to be walking you through how to photograph or how I photograph these dark and moody chocolate chip cookies. I'll have the recipe for the cookies if you're interested, linked in the description box or just in the card on this video. While they are cooling, I'm going to add a tea towel to my bench, that way the base of my tile doesn't scratch the surface of my bench. I'm going to make sure that my fingers are in the way until the very last minute so there's no contact along the edges. Give it a good clean on the surface and then start assembling your props. I have two bowls, so I have a little bit more height with the chocolate chip bowl. Then I've got a black plate and some craft colored paper which kind of matched the cookie crumb. I'm going to be cutting in two square pieces, scrunching them up for added texture and shadow and interest, and then layering these cookies. This is the part where I begin to plan how I'm going to set everything up. I wanted one cookie just off to the side leaning against the others. I still wanted there to be an element of cookies are still cooling down, so I had one left on the cooling rack there. And then just decorating this kind of filler space around the cookies. I had a leftover cookie from the other day, so I'm just crumbling that up and adding all these crumbs around the tile on the actual plate holding the cookies. And then some tools that were used in the creation of the recipe. So I have my gold measuring spoons. One of them still has the baking soda that I used. And I decided to remove all the other larger spoons that we really didn't need. And I just added these two. I used two because I can fit one underneath, one kind of protruding forward a little bit more. It just adds a little bit more interest and lines. I want it to be dark and moody. So I've got my blackboard and I'm holding it up with a book stand. I wanted my lighting not to be side on. I want it to be kind of coming from behind and the side at the same time. I lowered all the blinds in my house, but the big splashback window still let in a lot of light. So if you wanted to, I've got a reflector at the front reflecting light back, but if you wanted to, you could add another blackboard to the side of it to darken it even more. Here I'm using a 50mm lens and I'm just maneuvering things around, just feeling the space for it. You'll often find that what you create, the sort of setup you create at the very beginning, doesn't end up being the setup that you go with in the end. So don't be afraid to play around, moving your props around, maybe removing things altogether if they're just not playing the way you want them to. And here I've got a spot focus. Before I had those moving little green squares, that was the automatic focus. I'd recommend taking full control. So I've got my joystick at the back of the camera and I'm moving that focus that focus point as I go. I'm filling in the corners, but notice how I'm really cutting all the other elements. So I'm trimming them at the very edges of the frame. And that way what stays whole in the frame is just the hero, my cookie or my plate of cookies. You can do some horizontal shots as well. Some top down shots here too. And again, coming in a little bit closer, that spoon was killing me because it was underneath the plate, whereas you just want to see the whole spoon and you don't want it to interfere with the frame, so kind of shifted that back. And then moving forward, kind of closer to the cookie, further away from the cookie. And just see all the different angles that you can achieve here. There was a lot of space in the bottom right corner that I sort of wanted to fill in, just wasn't working for me. So I moved the chocolate chips to that corner just to balance it out a little bit more. I also shifted the face of the cookie so that it was catching a little bit more light. And I think this was one of my favorite shots right here. Alrighty, so we've reached the editing stage. I have these two photos that I've settled on. I'm going to edit today. I'm going to start off with exposure. Just going to lighten this up a little. Bring down those highlights just a touch. Might even keep the shadows nice and low. And then I'll move into the tone curve. With that second option selected, I'm going to raise those light colors there, deepen the dark because I do want to get like a nice moody finish, but I don't want it to be too dark, so we will raise the black just a touch and then move into this area here. I think I want to up the light a little, drop the blacks a touch, and raise the shadows just a bit. Balance it out some more using the tone here. I think I might even drop the highlights just a little more. Oh, I think that looks pretty balanced. I do want to still keep that dark and moody, so I might even bring it down just a hair. We will bump up the clarity, raise the vibrance just a bit. So it does look a little bit too colored, so I'll drop that saturation a tiny bit there. We'll move into our color mixer. And I love playing with the luminance just to really help those colors to pop. Oh, the orange. Whoa, that's beautiful. I feel like there's a lot of blue in the black, so we'll see what happens with that. Oh, yep. I actually think I want to go the opposite direction. With the hue, we'll make it a little bit more appetizing. Shift the yellow a little more into the orange even more into the orange. Oh, there's my yellow. Yeah, I think that looks a little bit more natural. I'm going to hit the backslash just to see how far we've come so far. It looks pretty good. I actually quite like that the blue and orange are really playing together here, so I think I might even up the saturation a little. This is just me making sure that it's actually the blue that's being affected. Bump that up a touch. Bump up the orange saturation just a hair as well. Nice, lots and kind of punchy, quite like that. We'll move on to the color grading. So in the mid-tones, we'll do something like that, add even more orange. Into the shadows, we'll really bring those blues in. Whoa, that looks awesome. We'll drag that in just a hair. Oop. And then highlights, maybe we'll keep highlights within that orangey hue. So this is the before and after of just the color grading. Very subtle, but still very effective. We are going to add sharpening. I'm gonna hit the option key, drag it. I just want the bare minimum sharpened, and we'll bring it only up to about 55. Enable profile corrections, or just leave it as is. We'll come all the way down to calibration, and I'm just gonna play. I'm just literally just gonna see what each one does, whether I like it. Well, I think I want to keep that at 0. Ooh. I think I want just a touch down on the reds. My mouse is a little bit laggy, but I think that looks good there. It's the green primary. And our blues. Let's go just -2. So this is before and after our calibration. It is very subtle, but all looks all right. Now we're going to play with the mask. So this is really going to enhance where we want to lead the eye. I'm seeing a lot of light in this area. This is a little bit too much highlight as well. I think it kind of distracts away from the main cookies over here. And I even want to draw even more attention to this cookie rather than this cookie that's catching most of the light. So I'm going to start off with maybe even a linear gradient at the very top, and mostly because I don't like that there's a very clear solid line there, so I really want to make that even less obvious. just like so. I might even up the contrast. Sorry, low. Oh, yeah, maybe. Let's see what we can do with that. So just a little bit. Just like that. Beautiful. Again, we're going to add a little more into this section, maybe just like this. I don't really want to play with exposure per se. We'll play with maybe shadows and whites just to dull it a little. And then we'll create a little bit of a vignette with that too. Something like that. I'll use a brush just to roughly highlight these areas. Drop the highlights a little. Might even play with this one. Dropping the highlights on that main cookie. And then another mask. Whoa, what just happened? My mouse is going crazy. Now we want radial gradient just over this cookie. I'm going to feather her right out. I'll add a touch of exposure. I want just a touch, but my mouse is really not working with me today. Oh my goodness. Oh, you know what? Let's go 25. 0.25, I understand. Shadows just a touch as well. Oh my gosh. Work with me. All right. Contrast, we'll go 10. And so if we do before and after of just that cookie, that looks good. Yeah, and it brings out a lot of the details in the grain of your flour as well, freshly milled flour. And then maybe just one overall vignette. I'm going to invert that. Rather than bringing down our exposure, I'm just going to play with maybe darks, whites, and shadows. We're going to make it really exaggerated. And then maybe just play with the amount. So this is none. We'll just kind of trickle her in just a little like that. I'm really loving the contrast of the blue and the orange. That's really, really enjoying that. It's going to do a little rotation, and that is our, ooh, wow, before and after. Look at that punch, that pop. Then if you wanted to, you can make it even punchier with a couple more masks. So we can do some dodge and burn. We're going to add a little more detail, just these light areas, maybe within the paper, and especially against this area here. We are going to bump up the shadows if my mouse wants to work with me. Oh my goodness. All right, let's go 10. Actually, 11's fine. Contrast, we'll bump it up 10. And highlights ever so slightly. Let's go with 5. So this is our burn. And then let's add our dodge. So might even get a little bit closer for this. Make it even smaller, make sure it's all nice and feathered out. Let's bring you, oh, that's better. Maybe in these little areas. Oh yes, let's add a little more into this chocolate chip. These little cracks, imperfections. And right in the paper, I think that could be adjusted nicely too. All right. Okay, so that's all highlighted. Let's jump into the shadows, into the blacks. Let's make it super exaggerated. And then we can just play with the amount. Just like that. And so if we have a look at all of our masks turned off compared to turned on, I feel like that's a little bit too, a little too much. Oh my gosh, mouse, stop it. That's a bit better. So that's our first image complete. We'll move on to our next one. And now, considering that the lighting is very much the same as what we had here, we could technically copy and paste. Yeah, nice. And then maybe just play with the masks again. So I actually want to crop these out just a little bit more, bring even more emphasis to the cookies at play. Beautiful. We'll keep it really, really simple for this one actually. We'll just do an inverted vignette. Playing with our black, playing with our shadow, whites and highlights. See what that looks like before and after. Yep, pretty good. Might just take a little bit of the attention away from the spoon here. Lower those highlights. With the dodge, we'll add even more shadow into these areas. Beautiful, especially on the base of the plate. And then we'll create even more shadow just around the chocolate chips. And those little cracks in the cookie. Cool. We'll add in shadow and we'll add in some black. Move the highlights just a touch. And let's see before and after. Nice and punchy. Add in some more highlighted areas. Let's really emphasize the texture around these chocolate chips. Maybe just around the top edge here where the light direction's coming from. And then the plate, you can see that rim there has a nice highlight on it. And the space underneath. Let's not forget the beautiful texture from the crinkled paper, especially the lines sort of pull down towards the cookies. And for this we will add the shadow and the white. If it's a little bit too much, we can adjust it with the amount, but we'll see how that is before and after. Very subtle, quite like that. Might even add just an overall boost in contrast, maybe about a 7. I am pretty happy with that. Very minimal editing on this one. This is the before and this is the after. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. It was so much fun to record this and to edit. If you guys want to share your photos with me, I would love to see them. You can send them to rosie@rosiesdessertspot.com or rosaloyphotography@gmail.com. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.